Do you want a six-figure salary internship? Do you want to fly business class and stay in five-star hotels? Do you want to solve challenging business problems? Hi, my name is Sean. I'm an MBB consulting intern, and in today's video, I will demystify consulting internships and tell you exactly how to get one. This video is my personal experience and opinion. It is not reflective of any company's official policy and or of my employer. Please don't fire me. Okay, there are three parts to this video. Number one, what is consulting? I'll tell you different types of consulting, different firms in the consulting industry. I'll tell you about the salary ranges if you're curious. I'll tell you about the day in my life as an intern. And last but not least, I'll tell you the pros and cons of consulting. Then we move on to number two, how to actually get a consulting internship. I'll tell you about the recruitment process, target schools, the application holy trinity, and the infamous case interview. Lastly, in part three, I'll give you my personal real advice and the advice from other interns at the Ivey Business School. This is not a MBB video. That was a consulting joke. MBB is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. I will try to cover the majority of topics, but if I miss anything, then comment down below. Also, I'm putting on a suit and filming this video on a Sunday, so please like this video and subscribe for more content. Okay, first thing first, I'm the realist. Okay, I'm kidding. First thing first, what even is consulting? People describe it as doctors for businesses or brains for hire, but low-key, just on the DL, I don't even know what consulting is. I think it's just so broad as an industry that I have a hard time defining it despite working in consulting for a summer. I think if I had to, I would personally say that consulting is the business of answering questions. So whenever businesses have questions they want the answer to and they can't figure it out, they contact a consulting company to come in, solve the problem, answer their questions, and help them along the process. For example, let's say we're company X, and we want to launch a new yoga brand in Asia. How do we do that? That could be a consulting case that yogurt company contracts out to a consulting company. Consulting firms work on projects or engagements, and they're typically paid per project. As an intern or new grad, you will work on many projects ranging from 6 to 8 weeks all the way up until a year long. Now, let's talk about the team structure. This is very firm dependent, but typically you have a partner leading the case, and under them you have a project manager, an engagement manager, a project leader leading the day-to-day operations. Within the team, there's usually 2 to 3 juniors, meaning analysts, business analysts, associates, consultants, working together to solve the case. Teams are usually very lean and they work very closely together. So if you don't like collaboration, consulting might not be the job for you. Okay, let me break down the consulting industry because it's quite complicated. If you've heard of terms like MBB or Big Four and you're wondering what the heck is that, I will tell you. There are many different industries within consulting. If you think about the businesses of answering questions, different companies have different questions they want to be answered. So, let's start with the consulting industry. We have the MBB, meaning McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. They're typically the strategy consulting shops that do the quote-unquote executive level strategy questions. They're usually shorter engagements. Within the MBB, they cover different types of consulting, from industrials to financial institutions, to consumer, to TMT, which is technology, media, telecom, and so much more. Next, we have the T2s, meaning Tier 2, which I think is quite an elitist name, but I digress. These are companies like Carney, OW, Strategy and Modern Deloitte. They do a mix of both strategy and implementation work, but they typically focus in or are very known for a specific type of consulting. So for example, Carney is very good at operations and supply chain consulting. Next, we have the Big Four. So we have KPMG, EY, Deloitte, and PwC. These firms are literally massive. They're bigger than the MBBs, the T2s, they're just humongous. Within these Big Fours, there are other business units as well. For example, audit, tax, M&A, and much more than just pure strategy consulting. They basically cover everything, but according to the streets, they do a lot more implementational work. So for example, a company might ask, how do we best integrate an IT solution to help our company scale? And last but not least, the boutiques. These are companies like ZS Associates, FTI Consulting, Booz Allen, Analysis Group, and RSM. These firms typically specialize in a specific type of consulting. So for example, ZS is known for healthcare consulting. So I just gave you a quick overview of the consulting industry, but there are a lot more than that. There are also consulting teams that are internal to the company or corporate strategy teams. But I hope that it paints a broad picture of what consulting could be like, and that you should definitely research more and figure out what kind of consulting you want to do, whether that be tech consulting, strategy consulting, risk consulting, or something else. Okay, you're probably all curious, so I'm here to answer your questions. According to management consultant US data, MBB internships start around $100,000 plus. Firms like Carney, OW, and Strategy and pays around $100,000 for their internships for the undergraduate level. Accenture is around $70K and Deloitte is around $60,000. If you're an MBA or a PhD candidate, you get paid more than this amount. Aside from the salary, there are so many perks, so I'll mention a few. Once again, it is firm dependent, but I'm speaking from my own personal experience as an MBB intern. Number one, the fancy team and corporate dinners. I mean, this should not be the only reason why you want to do a consulting internship, but it was a very nice luxury and I was very grateful to have those experiences. Number two, travels. This could be to the client site or maybe a company off-site, and if it's a long enough distance of a flight, you can do business class. I didn't travel during my summer, but I know other interns who did. Next is the daily catered lunch and expense dinners. These were really good. We also had fun events like cooking classes and making rugs. Yeah, I planned that one. Insert photo. And last, but definitely not least, the amount of snacks and coffee selection. Oh, the snack bar was just incredible. Like low-key, this one was probably my favorite. Now, if you're curious about what a consulting intern day in the life looks like, this was one of my days in the summer. I get up at 6:30 a.m., I get ready, and then take the train into the office. I check my emails to see if anything is urgent, and usually there isn't anything urgent. I get there by 7:30 a.m. and I hit the gym in the office. Low-key though, it was very nice. There were showers and provided towels. I was like, whoa, this is a luxury gym. I get to my desk by 8:45 a.m., make my signature honey oat iced latte. It was actually thebomb.com, thank you. But since then I've realized that it's actually not healthy to drink that every morning. So I've pivoted to just black drip coffee, and it's nowhere near as enjoyable, but definitely a lot healthier. I also sometimes make oat for breakfast. My go-to flavor is the brown sugar oats, but if that one runs out, which sometimes it does, I get the apple cinnamon one, which is also pretty good. From 9 to 10 a.m., I respond to emails and write down the tasks that I want to accomplish and kind of make a mini roadmap for myself. 10 a.m., we have our team check-in where we go over priorities for the day and what we are working on and any important meetings that we have. I work independently from 10:30 to 12 p.m. on various deliverables and my own work stream. By 12 p.m., we have an office-wide catered lunch. It's really social. I actually really love lunch. I see my intern friends. I yap with them while I do a good munch, or maybe with my colleagues. We just love to yap literally about anything. There's also a foosball table in the office, which is really nice if you want to de-stress and play something fun. 12:45 p.m., I'm back to work. And by 3 p.m., I'm kind of like sluggish and tired at this point, so I either get another coffee in the office or I go down to the 4th floor in my building and get a very overpriced matcha latte. Then I keep grinding into 7 p.m. and at this point I might have had client meetings, I might have met with my manager to update him on my deliverables or ask any questions that I'm kind of stuck on. Then at 7 p.m. we ordered dinner as a team. I got to decide a lot of the times what to have for dinner, so I ate pretty good over the summer. So I keep working until the Uber Eats arrive, and around 7:30 p.m. we eat dinner as a team. After dinner, I wrap up my remaining tasks from 8 to 9 p.m. and then Uber home. And then on busier days or weeks, I stayed in the office until my work was done for that day. I do want to note that if I was like super productive at every single hour of the day, I could have probably gone home earlier in the day, but I like took my time, kind of soaked in the knowledge, learned more, so I think I was fine with staying a bit later, and that was the trade-off that I was willing to make. Also, shout out to my team in the summer. I had such a good team. I genuinely laughed every single day going to work. I actually didn't dread going into work. I looked forward to going to work, but I do think that's kind of the intern syndrome. I don't think it lasts into full time, so don't expect, it's all roses and bright colored paintings. At this point, you're probably wondering, should I go into consulting? Let me break down the pros and cons of consulting for you. Let's start with the pros. Firstly, this is the cheesiest thing that everyone and their mother told me about consulting, and I was like, bro, please stop. Like, it's not funny anymore. But newsflash, it's actually true. You learn so much in a summer of consulting, or just in general in consulting, which I thought was not possible, but like it actually is. Everything is really accelerated. The team expects a lot from you, but the mentorship and support is there to help you, so don't worry. I do think consulting sets you up really well for anything you want to do in the future. So definitely a very good internship or career to have to build your skills. Pro number 2 is ownership over your work. You're not just like doing tasks assigned by your manager, which you might sometimes do, but the point is you're driving your own portion of the work, and there's a lot of autonomy, and you get to dictate how you want to approach it, the kind of strategy, quote unquote, behind the work. I got a lot more responsibilities and ownership even as a summer intern than I expected. So I do think that it's a career that if you want independence and kind of just spread your wings and do your thing, like it's the career for you. Thirdly, this is a pretty obvious one, but there aren't that many careers you can get 6 figures straight out of undergrad, let alone during the internship. So compensation is very competitive and definitely a really good selling point for consulting. Another pro is that it's always changing. You're going from project to project, you're doing different tasks every day, every week. So if you're someone who gets really easily bored like myself, this is really great. And lastly, for the pros are the exit opportunities. This means what you can do next after consulting. Yes, you can stay consulting forever, but a lot of people do choose to leave and do other things in their career. And consulting kind of opens all the doors for you. You can go into virtually any career, like private equity, corporate strategy, tech product management, sales, marketing, you name it. Someone from consulting probably did that path. Maybe except Broadway, but I'm working on that one. Okay, now the cons. Let's be clear, it is not a 9-to-5 job. Okay, the hours are longer, and please do expect longer hours. I think with more responsibility come more hours. If you want to do consulting, make sure that this is a trade-off that you're willing to make. Secondly, it is a stressful job. Dude, like, it felt high intensity and high pressure and high stakes all the time, but I do think that it's something that gets kind of better with time and you get used to it and you manage it a lot better as you progress in your consulting career. Thirdly, you might not like the work 100% of the times. It's not a fixed role, so you're hopping from projects to project, and let's say you're staff on an oil and gas or maybe a mining case and you don't like that work, guess what? You still have to do it. Number 4. Presentation and delivery matters equally to content. If you're someone who don't like kind of the tedious small details on how you communicate things, whether that be written, verbal, or even like body language cues, last but not least, probably one of the most common cons people mention in consulting is that you typically recommend strategies or things to implement, but you're not actually there to see it fully implemented. Obviously, every case is different, but I think it's typically true for strategy consulting companies. Okay, if you're still here and want to know how you can get a consulting internship, let me tell you. For context, consulting internships are super competitive to get. According to Management Consulted, MBB's internship acceptance rate is 1 to 2%. That's literally less than Harvard at 3.43% in 2025. The T2s, Big Four, and boutiques are also super competitive, so it's definitely not an easy job to get, but I am here to help you get your foot in the door. To get an internship, you first need to understand the recruitment process. Let's start with the target schools. In consulting, similar to other very hyper-competitive internships, they have things called target schools. Target schools are schools that these firms have dedicated recruiting teams for and typically always hire from every year. So schools like Harvard, Princeton, MIT, UChicago, USC in the US, and schools like Queen's, U of T, and Ivey in Canada. I do want to note that target schools are often office location dependent, meaning that the Austin office might have UT Austin as their target school. If you go to a target school, you will have an easier time recruiting because there are dedicated pipelines, clubs, processes, and people who've done it before that are willing to help. If you don't go to a target school, it's cooked. No, I'm kidding. It's completely fine. You can still get the job. Firms also have dedicated teams to help schools from quote-unquote non-targets recruit into the firm, so you're completely fine. Don't let being from a non-target determine if you get the job or not. Okay, in my opinion, the hardest part of recruiting for consulting is getting an interview. And to get an interview, you need to master the application holy trinity. What the heck is the application holy trinity? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are 3 dimensions to this triangle. You have academics and leadership, work experience, and networking. Okay, let's start with academics and leadership. According to the streets, you want to aim for a 3.9 plus GPA to best set yourself up. This means around an 85% plus average. This is not a hard set line, meaning that you can still get an interview without having the highest, most insane GPA. And also, if you're studying a very difficult discipline like biomedical engineering, physics, honors computer science, then having a lower GPA doesn't hurt your application as much. Being involved is equally as important as having a good GPA. So things like volunteering, club leadership, so being a VP or president of an on-campus organization, is really, really helpful. In fact, McKinsey cares about it so much that they publicly post about it in their 4 PEI dimensions. PEI is the personal experience interview. This includes inclusive leadership, personal impact, entrepreneurial drive, and courageous change. Pro tip, make sure that you highlight these experiences on your resume. The second part of the Holy Trinity is the work experience. This could be previous summer internships, volunteering roles, or generally any work experience. Having previous work experience is really helpful because it shows that you're capable, you've been hired before, and that it kind of de-risks your application. Pro tip, make sure you quantify the impact that you make on your resume. A resume should have numbers. You can tell me about kind of how much time you save a team, how much money you made for a team, or anything along those lines, so make sure to have numbers. And lastly, networking. This is arguably the most important part of securing an interview. Talk to people at the firms to know more about what they like, what projects they work on, why they're at a certain firm, and anything that you want to learn about. Pro tip. Ask questions that you're genuinely interested in and not questions that you can just Google on the internet. And also avoid chatting with too many people at an office. I made this mistake when I was really, really excited and I want to talk to a lot of people, but I think it didn't really help me, but in fact, it might have hurt me in the process. The caveat in this section is that you can get an interview without perfecting all 3 dimensions, but you should try to put your best foot forward on all 3 to really make sure that you maximize your chances. Okay, so I heard that you got an interview. Okay, get into it! The hardest part is over. It's time to lock in and secure the bag. The interview process is different at every firm, so I can only speak from my personal experience recruiting. Typically, it is 2 rounds of interviews. You have both the behavioral and the case interview. The one mistake that I see a lot of students make is that they spend a lot of time case prepping, but no time prepping their behaviorals. I think they're equally important. So if you're slacking on your behaviorals, you're not getting the offer. First round is typically with more junior members of the firm, so meaning it could be associates, it could be engagement managers, project leaders. And then the second round is typically with partners, so more senior folks at the firm and the recruiting director. In the first round, they mainly want to test your problem-solving abilities and overall competence. In the second round, a lot of it is just vibes. You want to make sure that you're a culture fit for the firm and that the partners can see you working with them on their team. A pretty famous vibe check is the airport test, meaning imagine you're stuck with this person at the airport for 4 hours, 5 hours. Would you be okay with talking to them for 4 or 5 hours and just hanging out? Or would you be completely either bored, dreaded, or having a really, really awkward time? If it's the latter half, then maybe they're not the best fit for the firm. Now, the case interview. Honestly, I think the case interview deserves a whole separate video, but I will try to kind of summarize what even is a case interview. Typically, you have around 30 minutes to solve a case. You're presented with a prompt that asks you to make a recommendation to solve a client's question or challenge. So throw back to the question of how do we launch a yogurt business in Asia? That could have been a prompt in a case. Then you work through exhibits like data charts, new information. You may have to estimate the size of a market. So for example, what's the annual revenue of tennis balls in the US? Pro tip. Do a lot of mocks with other people, upper years, mentors especially. Focus on the quality of mocks rather than the quantity of different mocks you're doing. And really make sure that for every single mock, you want to improve something specific. You want to improve either your communication, your math, your exhibit reading, or whatever it may be that you're targeting for that case. But always go into a case knowing what you want to improve on. Okay, I know that was pretty fast, so if you want a whole separate video on how to case prep, how to get ready for a case interview, drop it down in the comments and I'll make a separate video for you. Okay, now the behavioral interview. Honestly, I think the behavioral interview is my favorite part of the process because you just get to yap with the partners. Like, it's your opportunity to connect with these people on a one-on-one personal level. It's fun, it's not that serious, and just make sure that you treat it like a conversation and not an interrogation. But that does not mean that it doesn't require preparation. Make sure that you do mocks with your friends, your mentors, your families even. Practice it out loud and just don't skip prepping behaviorals because I think it's kind of the pitfalls a lot of people fall into. I think it's easy and you don't want to rehearse your stories, but I think it's really important. Prepare common questions like, tell me about yourself, why this firm, strengths and weaknesses, stories about leadership, teamwork, and managing conflict. Okay. I know I just yapped at you for so long about how competitive it is, how hard it is to get to consulting, why you need like all these crazy things to even get your foot in the door. But I'm here to tell you the real advice, okay? Number one, shoot your shot. Do not self-select. I repeat, do not self-select. I told you about the best things you can do, like having a 3.9 plus GPA, being a club president, being a VP, and being involved. But I wasn't that student in university. I didn't have a 3.9 GPA. I wasn't a VP or a president of a club in my year when I was recruiting for these internships, and I still got in. So if you're a first generation university student like I am, do not self-select, shoot your shot, because these opportunities could literally transform the trajectory of your entire life and career, and I think it's worth a shot to take. Secondly, it's not you. When I was going through these recruiting processes and I thought I was doing all the right things, but I just didn't get the interview. I felt really defeated, and I just kept beating myself up for it. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I a horrible person? Like, what's happening? Like, am I cooked, chat? Like, am I cooked? After all of this, I realized that there are a million factors that are not in your control, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So just keep your heads up, keep going, because you will inevitably face these setbacks, these obstacles, these challenges, but they're a part of the process. So just embrace it and keep moving. And lastly, the advice that I give to all of my mentees, lean into what makes you unique. When you're interviewing or networking or just applying, please be yourself, because they can tell when you're not being authentic. Don't try to act what you think they want to see, because they want to see the real you. Right? Talk about the things that you're genuinely passionate about, the things that you love to talk about. I talked about theater in my interviews. I talk about YouTube in my interviews. Things that I'm genuinely passionate about, and it really shows when you have that passion in the interview. So those are my personal advice. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. When I was going through these processes, I was really grateful and fortunate to have upper year mentors and friends who helped answer my stupid questions and kind of guide me through the process. And I'm so grateful to have that kind of privilege. And I know a lot of you don't have that access, so I want to be kind of that person to help you answer questions and help guide you along the way. With that being said, my advice is not the end all be all. Here are more consulting advice from other interns at the Ivey Business School.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. I'm Avril. I worked at BCG Toronto last summer. One piece of advice I have for everyone breaking into consulting is to truly know who you are. So bring your value proposition to the table, know who you are, how you differentiate and stand out from all of the other candidates, and bring that throughout your entire behavioral and case interview is very important.
Hi, my name is Mara Armitage. This past summer I worked at McKinsey. My number one piece of advice for recruiting is that it's just as much for you as it is for the firm. So don't feel pressured to apply to any firm that you don't think suits your interests and your goals.
My name is Safwan. I did consulting at Accenture, and the advice I'd had for you guys is to be genuinely curious. It's important for you to ask questions like why and how, not really just to understand, but how you apply it in your everyday life. When you're doing an interview, you're going to be asked questions. When you're on the job, you're going to be asked questions about how does this work, why does this work, why am I even doing this? What's important is that they judge you not really on your ability to know the content, but how eager you are to learn, how eager you are to apply it makes the job so much easier and makes your life a lot more fulfilling.
Hi, my name is Annie. I was an intern at Alvarez & Marsal this past summer. One piece of advice I have for incoming interns is to try to spend as much face time as you can in the office, especially if you live nearby and you can make it in. I think being there, you learn so much more, getting to see other people work around you and being able to ask people questions whenever you want.
Hi, my name is Ricky. Last summer I worked at MasterCard, and my one piece of advice for consulting is that recruiting is just a numbers game, and it's more important to focus on the process and learn from each interview than focusing on the result, as each firm I think is very good at picking a person who's a good fit for their culture.
Hi, I'm Peyton, and I'll be interning at McKinsey next summer. So one piece of advice I have is for students to really leverage the upper years at your school. A lot of them have gone through the exact same process that you'll be going through, so they have a lot of advice and you can avoid the mistakes that they've made.
Hi, I'm Sam. I intern at Deloitte and UI. I think my biggest advice for anyone interested in consulting, both in the recruiting process and on the job, it's a very people-oriented business. So even when you're recruiting, spend as much time as you can with each firm to find out where you think you might fit best. And even when you're on the job, being staffed on cases, getting to know people is very much people pulling you in. So make sure you spend time getting to know everyone in the firm, and then they'll be able to help you out.
Hi, I'm Joyce. I interned at Bain last summer, and my one piece of advice is to bring confidence to the case. So they're not hiring case-breaking machines, they're hiring client-facing professionals. So make sure you're ready to explain your answers under pressure and bring that confidence to the table.
Okay, if you've made it to the very end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe for more content. And I just want to say before we leave this video that consulting is not the end-all be-all. There are so many great career paths, and if you don't get it on your first try, that's okay. You have more opportunities to get into consulting. Don't give up, and know that I'm so proud of you. I'm rooting for you, and you're gonna go kill it. With that being said, see you next time on my next video. Bye!